a patient based on that information. And I think that's what we were looking at, the components of, uh, of, of, uh, of our health information system, and we discussed a number of them, including a database, including a network. We have discussed those ones. And I think today, I want us to move on to another section, which is, it's a very interesting, LIS is a very interesting unit, but, and we know everything is moving on to, so we need to look at something very important there. We are now on clinical laboratory. We are on instrumentation. We are on instrumentation. But at a later stage, we look at instrumentation, we look at some instruments, but we may not look, in this lesson, we are not looking at those instruments. We may look at the design, how they work. Some of those instruments, analyzers, biochemistry analyzers, and many more. But for now, I'll put that one I do at a later date. So what we're saying is, medical laboratory is a laboratory where specimen samples, actually they are stored, examined, and processed. They are stored, examined, and processed. You know, a number of times again, you also use the laboratory to extract samples. You also use a laboratory to extract. But you know, these samples can come from another facility. But they can also begin with extracting. I don't know how you define laboratory, because maybe can you write how you define laboratory? Yeah, I'm starting from storing, examination, and processing. Now, of course, we examine them. We examine this specimen, and we process this specimen. Yeah. So when we process, is when we get some data using various techniques. So we get some results. So we process to get some result using some processing. Somebody write a chart. Somebody write a chart. Are you getting me? So what I'm asking is, in my definition of a laboratory, yes, in my definition of a laboratory, I've started by dividing a lab is where we store specimen, examine, and process. So have I left out the extraction? Should we begin with extraction? Somebody tried a chat there, whether there should be extraction. I'm talking about, should we begin with extraction? Can we begin with this in the definition? Can we begin with the extraction? When we are defining a laboratory, a clinical laboratory, beginning from there, is it? I think we had an agreement. We should begin with the extraction, because once you present that kind of that template of a request to the lab, so the lab technologist or scientist will take that, and maybe you want to do some malaria test. Malaria test it has to begin with blood. So it's about blood test. So somebody has to take blood from the patient, specimen of blood. So if it's the stomach and you are dealing with maybe stool, the next thing, all those gadgets for taking stool are in the lab. I think we should begin with I've left out extraction, which is very important when we're defining the lab. Somebody's writing something. I think we're in agreement. Now, I think now what I've said there is that clinical laboratory is responsible for analyzing a patient specimen. Now, the process when you are processing this specimen, so you are using various techniques, various laboratory techniques to process those results, and then you would analyze the specimen, you analyze the results from the specimen, then you analyze the result from the specimen to get information. So whatever you get from processing the specimen, you would analyze what you've gotten, and then you will have to get after analysis, you get information of what's coming from that specimen. So I've said that the clinical laboratory is responsible for analyzing specimen information. That's at the end, processing, then analyzing, in order to provide information to aid diagnosis of disease and evaluate the effectiveness of therapy. The major sections of the clinical laboratory are, first we have chemistry department, we have hematology, we have microbiology, even blood bank. Sometimes actually it's part of the lab blood where blood is stored. And you know, in a healthcare facility, blood bank is very important because of patients who have lost blood on the accident and in many other ways. So we need a blood bank. So is there any other section which I have not mentioned there? That is among the sections. Any other section? Any others? Is that the basic classification of sections? Another section? Another section? But this is one of this among the sections I mentioned there. The three is among the very key sections. Because people as a laboratory scientist, you have a lot, you know all these sections. It's also parasitology, yeah, talk about, but parasites, yeah, when you talk about you extracting your stool, of course you take through a parasitology section, and I think many more. So this what I say that they include these ones, they include the chemistry lab, they include the hematology, the biology, this parasitology among those ones. I may not walk through these ones because you know we are very familiar with these sections. Talk about chemistry is to do with analysis of blood, urine, cerebrospinal fluid, and other fluids to determine how much of various clinically important substances they contain. Okay, this is what you are familiar with. And even hematology lab, you are familiar with this. Yeah, consists of formed elements, substances in the solution, and water. The sections cover only devices that measure characteristics of formed elements like red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, among others. So you can move on. It is microbiology there. The microbiology is about performing various blood tissues and fluids to determine whether pathological microorganisms are present. So, somebody's in there, yes? Yes, can I hear you? Somebody's in the hand? Wiganjo? Yes, can you say what you're saying? Can you say?
No, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. Let me mute and mute. I didn't know when I pressed it.
Okay, so let's move on. It's also parasitology and many more. I think what we need to, so there are many sections of the lab, but what we are interested in is we say whichever the sections are, yeah, the specimen are processed, and then analyzed to produce some kind of information. So when we process and analyze the results, we have information. When we process and analyze a specimen, we have information. So information actually is a result. It's a result of a RAB process. So a very important, very important characteristic of any test procedure. What we need to understand that any test procedure must be accurate and precision. What we're very keen about, whatever the techniques, whatever the techniques. So what we are very keen about in the lab should be accuracy and precision. So when we talk about preterits, and you know it's a given range. If you give wrong information, and then you are talking about the measuring preterits, and you know the range of preterits. What's the range? Range of preterits. Range. For example, range of preterits. Range of preterits. I think they call preterits. Whatever they are. Can somebody range of preterits? Can I know when I know what they are? Range. Which one? The range of preterits?
I think it is
Somebody right?
150 to 450 million.
150 to 450. So if you are, maybe there's a patient who is giving birth and it's supposed to be taken to theater, and you give the wrong, you certify that the range is within this, and when actually they are as low as 700, yeah, because of your inaccuracy and precision. So you have to talk about 100 or less. So you can see how dangerous your conclusion will be. So when we talk about accuracy and precision, is a word we not miss in the lab. Accuracy and precision. Whatever you do, we uphold accuracy. All your control process. You know, there are also controls in the lab. All those controls, they are targeting accuracy and precision. Now, so say because many critical patients cared and so on and so on. So excellent equipment design and effective quality control programs are essential so that we can achieve this accuracy and precision. Talk about excellent equipment design and effective quality control programs. And I've just mentioned that one. So they are essential to guarantee accuracy and precision of our results. Now, everyone involved in the design or use of critical apparatus instruments must be constantly aware that erroneous test results can lead to tragic outcome. That's what I've just explained. You are talking about a lady who's giving birth and you are giving the birth rates to be 100 when they're supposed to be 150. You are saying that they are within range when they're actually out of range. This patient will breathe seriously. So you are not giving all those ones who will be in the theater an opportunity to prepare for any eventuality, because you have already said that this is within range, but it's actually outside the range. When it's this ready or a person has start breathing, it will be a very disastrous case, running around the blood bank and so on. So it's important that we talk about accuracy and precision. Now, the other one is the other very important characteristics is fast response. Yeah, the test procedure of mental procedure should be fast response. Now, because in many critical clinical situations, therapy is directed by the physician depends on the test results. So the application of electronic in the medical has greatly reduced time required to perform. Yeah, you know what about response time. You know, we've been having a problem of COVID for a long time. You know, you know, people should be. There was a time it was like in 1 week, so you want to take you queue for test, so results are taken to Cambridge, then you wait for an email. Yeah, I think that is the that's the poorest way of handling tests. And you know that was testing for COVID. It's actually a lab test, but it was taken out of the lab environment, and now it was taking weeks to come out. But I think as we talk today, in a span of 20 minutes, you can get your results in now very enhanced, very procedures and techniques to do the test for COVID. You can imagine if somebody was COVID positive and had an underlying condition, and you are telling the person to go home for 1 week and wait for an email. That's how we began. So fast response, the response time is very critical when it comes to laboratory results. So we're talking about accuracy. So there are three things we're talking about there: accuracy, precision, and response time. Those are the very critical characteristics of test procedures. Now, some very basic classifications of instruments. They are based on some principles. This is the principle of spectrophotometry. So this basis of an instrument used in clinical chemistry. The primary reason for this is to issue measurements and so on. We also have electrophoresis. Yeah, so some of the design principles of some of the equipments which are used in the lab. Now, the types of instruments. So we're talking about digital instruments. Digital instruments. We're talking about digital instruments, and I think I was trying to compile some of those ones. But those digital instruments, they can fall into three basic classes. So there is a dump, there is also a dump, there is a dump instrument. So they are like balances, ionometers, gauges, and so on. We also have smart instruments. We also have bidirectional instruments. So there are three different categories. Now, dump instruments, balances, pH meters, and others. So you simply, or a weighing machine, those are weighing machine, those ones you weigh, that's used. Those are dump instruments. You just have to stand on it and take measurements. Now, the next one is a smart instrument. That's what I'm talking about now. Next is smart instrument. This is dump. Smart instrument provide two key features that simply interfacing with the leaves, with the leaves. Now, they allow you to associate the unique sample identifier to each measurement, and they provide files in a format that can be processed by software application. So what we're saying is a smart, in a very simple word, a smart instrument, a laboratory instrument. So when it has taken a measurement, it is able to link with the software application and transfer and hand over whatever data, whatever results it has been analyzed. So it's in a format which can be absorbed by a software application. That is the difference with a smart from dump terminal. So you may not need to type the result into the system. Yeah. So for a smart terminal, it can process and then pass over the results to a software application. And then now the other one is bidirectional instruments. Instruments allow input of sample and identification and produce files that contain instruments produced at a consistent format, but it also provides an added capability of receiving information from LIMS, from a laboratory information system management system. So what we're saying is there is a back and forth, and this is a very advanced equipment when it comes to, so it can not only, the smart one passes over data to the system. The bidirectional, it is also getting some back feedback and also get the back feedback. Now, the back feedback here, the power feedback, for example, if it was a range of breath rates and you're saying it's 150 to 450, some of the controls our laboratory information system would have. So it should ensure that whatever is submitted to the system, our list, yeah, system is within this range. So if by any accident or by any mistake, your smart equipment submits a results which is out of this range, and then it is seen as all right, so there could be a feedback to that kind of equipment. So there's a feedback mechanism. So we may not look at some of the advances here, but I think what I want to look at is I will move down to then I'll discuss it later, but I will move on to something there, what we call move on to I will leave automation because I will combine it with equipment. I want to move on to interfacing. I want to move on to interfacing because I've just mentioned about the kind of equipment we're talking about. We're talking about types of equipment. We have, I said, there are three. There is a dump, there is smart, and there is bidirectional. And these equipment are supposed to hand over. So the first one, the dump terminal, a lab technician has to feed the data into the system. The first, the second, and the third, the smart and the bidirectional equipment, they can easily pass over results to the information system. Now, instrument interfacing. You know what I'm saying is with interfacing. Just want to mention one thing that not all manufacturers of these laboratory equipment have designed it with an interface to an information system. Sometimes we may require an interface between an equipment, a laboratory equipment, or an laboratory machine, digital equipment, to the system. So that's what we call interfacing. So how that the data comes out of the instrument, if it's a biochemistry analyzer, to the laboratory information system. So we can create some kind of protocol, some standard in between, so that this analyzer can pass over results to our laboratory information system. Yeah, so that's what interfacing. So because all manufacturers provide that to an information system. So this is for the purpose of integration of equipment, laboratory information system. It's for the purpose of integration. So when we're integrating our laboratory digital equipment with the laboratory information system, so we can use the interface, then it moves on crawling. Now, when you talk about interface, yes, besides in the lab, I think this is a very common interface. Like for example, is a modem. A modem is now if you you have a laptop, and you are not in internet, you can try to buy a modem from Safaricom or from Airtel or from Telecom. So you can buy this modem. The modem, they are different. It's called modem means modulation to modulation. So you are able to use this modem to internet via Safaricom. So that's what we call an interface. So the modem here is an interface between your lab and Safaricom. So then you can easily now interact with the Safaricom network to access your emails and so on. So you can imagine if you have your laptop and you are in a situation where you don't have a Wi-Fi, so you can buy a modem from Safaricom, from Airtel, from Telecom, and this these ones will help you connect yourself to the internet via one of those mobile operators. And I think now that's what called an interface. Yeah, it is able to, you can now get through to internet via the modem. That's what we're talking about when we talk about interfacing in a laboratory. So we are using interfacing protocols to integrate our laboratory equipment with our system. Now, an effective integration of laboratory equipment is crucial to improving productivity and efficiency in the hospital laboratory environment. We're talking about integration, interfacing would enhance productivity and efficiency about the environment. Integration of laboratory equipment with lease was once a daunting task until recent years with the development of laboratory equipment with Rasta's advanced lab link applications. Equipment integration is very reasonable and so on. So lab interfacing is important. The integration with interface instruments accuracy of results. So when it comes to interfacing, one of the very important advantage is accuracy of results. Accuracy results. So results which are coming, they are directly to the laboratory information system. So there's that seamless bridge. Yeah, it's called a seamless lab experience. It's a seamless bridge. Seamless means there is no boundary. You know, it's almost there's no boundary. Even in the transmission of results to the laboratory system, you don't realize that there was a need. So it's automatic. It's called seamless transmission of results. And I just say that this is what I've just explained here, that because instrument manufacturers do not provide common communication, maybe with the recent, you know, like now I was talking about a laptop and the internet. So a laptop and internet, So you have to provide a modem a modem from Safaricom, from Airtel, from Telecom, for you to get that connection. Now, because laboratories are not designed directly. Now, we'll talk about your mobile phones, your smartphones. The way you don't need that modem technique is already integrated in the motherboard of your smartphone. You only need to set up the Wi-Fi, and then you move on. So that is the difference. You know, we are talking about a laptop, but a smartphone. A smartphone, that's already the technology is more than the one of a laptop, and the moment you need to set up the Wi-Fi, and then you move on. But with a laptop, you can't set up with a Wi-Fi. You need to get your modem, and then you connect to internet, among other things. So what I'm saying here is that because instrument manufacturers do not provide common communication, data formats, it is up to quality, so it needs common communication or data formats. It's up to the quality standard of imaging. Quality standard for imaging provide a tool that allows integration regardless of the capabilities of various instruments that you can prevent. Talking about those kind of provide allows integrated of instruments. So we are aware that some of the instruments might not be having that capability of integration. So this standard provides that kind of link. So we are talking about the need to the laboratory information system. Information flowing alias to this one is accurate and complete, so you can move on to something else there. And so you can see this is the picture. We have on this side, on the right hand side, we have the equipment. So we have analyzer, we have the printers, and we have some workstation there. Then we have the hospital information in the system there. We have a list here, and some this is some kind of system there. So they start link from the equipment through this protocol in between there, the list on the other hand. So an instrument interface allows a laboratory instrument, whether it is hematology, analyzer, or cytogenetics, imaging, and so on, with a list. So the interface allows the digital laboratory equipment to connect with this. Now, interfaces, I've just mentioned what they are. So we have just mentioned what they are. We have various interfaces. We have various interfaces there. Interfaces are generally unidirectional, bidirectional, or host query. So they can be an interface, can be any of those ones. It can be unidirectional, bidirectional, or host query. Now, so unidirectional, test results are transmitted from the instrument to the list with unidirectional. This kind of integration, this kind of interfacing allows only one-way communication. It's only one-way communication, one-way, called unidirectional. The results are transmitted from the instrument to list one way, providing a single way of communication. The instrument test the results after sample placement. Soon after processing, the instrument outfetches relative data and inputs the result back to your list. So that is one way. So from an instrument to, you can see here, sample, barcode, laboratory analyzer, and the results to list or HIS. Then we have reports the other side. So you can see list or HIS here. The results are handed over. This equipment is able to output data report results file, but do not have a facility to import information. Bidirectional. Orders are transmitted to the instrument for list, stored in the instrument until the appropriate specimen is loaded. Now, we talk about the bidirectional. We talk about requests, laboratory requests. Yeah, can be made from list and maybe of a certain number of patients. You know, there is some kind of coding. So when that result is available, then it's loaded back to list. So talk about orders are transmitted to the instrument from list and stored in the instrument until the appropriate specimen is loaded. The results are then transmitted back to the list when the order is identified. So there's a communication between the list and the instrument and the forth. That's a very high level kind of digital integration. So you have here, you can see there's an analyzer here. It's a work list which is submitted, and results are coming back to the list. So that's what we're talking about as bidirectional. The other one is able to. There's also host query. Now, upon scanning a specimen, host query, the instrument send an order query to list. The test is performed, and results transmitted back to list. So the instrument sends an order query to the list, upon scanning the specimen. So this one will scan the specimen. As a result, it will send an order query to list. Then if list would actually accept, then they will have the results transmitted across. So importance of this, you can see this your list there. This is the same. What is there is all laboratory information management system. It's the same as LIS actually. It's a management system or information system. You should not get confused. So you can have LMS or all laboratory information system or laboratory information management system. That whichever way, it is still the same thing. So importance of interfacing machines of your LIMS, it is one is effective instrument utilization. That's productivity is increased. We also have improved accuracy of medical report used with the shorter that and so on. Among others, some of the advantages why we should integrate our list with some kind of interface. Now, we're talking about these protocols, which have been introduced between the instrument and the list. So these instruments are also equipped with a software called middleware. They are equipped with the protocol is equipped with a software called middleware. So that the interface is equipped with that standard something interface is equipped with standard imaging instrument is equipped with a software called middleware. Middleware is a type that sits in the middle between software application and applications. This follows several different processes that run on several machines, interact across a network. So we're talking about a component and an application. So we're talking about between an equipment and our list. In the context of clinical diagnosis and the clinical laboratories, laboratory information system with analyzers and do the actual lab testing. So that do the actual. So the middleware will connect the list analyzers. The analyzers do the actual lab testing. It's essential. Essentially, does not whatever the existing and so on. So you can all those are stories, but I would want to say something there. Why do we need middleware designed specifically for doc ins? And I think you can have a story. I wanted to look at something there in there. So I want to say something there. Yeah, that one is why and all you can read, but I think is a better set POC fast took off. Interface changes for it. The service rapidly became so you can read some of that. But I want us to say it dominates as preferred connectivity solution for clinical laboratory. Dominates as a preferred connectivity solution for the critical laboratory. Actually, it is now a dominant preference for connectivity solution. The common functions of this middleware are common functions of this middleware. Common functions. One is messaging. Functions of middleware. One is messaging. Two is automation. Three is inspection. Four is quality control. Those are common functions of middleware. One is messaging. Two is automation. Three is that one. It is messaging. Messaging between different applications. For example, for instance, it can communicate between the instrument and the list, or from list to the third-party software such as EMR, PHR, and so on. So this is what they can do for messaging. The other one is for automation. We also need to add layers of automation to the LIS environment. When you talk about a middleware actually is a software. Yeah. We can say it slides over the LIS. It slides over. You know what you need to do is like you have a mother, and you have a kid on her back. Mother, kid on her back. So a middleware is like a kid on the back of the mother of LIS. LIS is the mother software, and we have LIS middleware riding on it on the back of this mother. So this is, and there are so many of those softwares which ride on other softwares. Why they should write on other softwares? To give that extra. If we write on Alice, so Alice would have that extra capability of linking to the analyzers. So, and softwares can those kind of software riding on them, so that you can be able to access some service. Now, the Android software, the one which is on a mobile phone. Now, we have a lot of softwares there which are running them. But you can have others like I don't know, QCash. Is it QCash or which one? There are so many for borrowing. There are so many applications for borrowing which are loaded on your machine. There are so many. Like now, I can see this Premier. And when you go to your mobile phone, when you go to, is that one where you can get your applications there? So those applications are loaded on. You can also add more so that you can use your mobile phone, get some other services. There's some connection here. I don't know what it's called. I'm not getting it, but it is always there. You can add, Presto. Presto, you can have a number of, you can actually, there are a number of applications which are there. Some of the key applications are for borrowing. And many of you are arrested in CLB because you borrowed money and you have not returned. Some of them they are for borrowing, and so on. There are also many others there. They can also add for healthcare, also, and so on. So you can which ones they were not relied on your system. So automation, middleware is also used to add layers of automation to the. So adds that layer of automation. So you adding a layer, that's what is very important of automation to our list. So then another one is in inspecting middleware is used to inspection preparedness. Middleware can be programmed to alert the scheduled maintenance, to automate troubleshooting, and to set up a schedule and track events. So some of these activities like inspection and so on, schedule maintenance can be included in the middleware, so that at some stage, so it is able to generate information about maintenance and among other things. There's also quality control, another component which can be included in our middleware. Quality control. Middleware can be utilized to streamline data management, track operators, and provide audit trails. And often offer options that allow apps to identify quality control failure and so on. You can also work backwards. You can work backwards. You enhance it. Talk about software, you can enhance it with another feature. So we can enhance the middleware with quality control features. So it can. I think with that capabilities, interface, criteria, I think what I can do is I will stop there. I don't want to cover so much. I will stop there. So, but what is very important is we've talked about interfacing. We have explained why we should have an interface, and I have just said that manufacturers of some equipment, of a number of equipment, they are not, those equipment are not in a state that they can communicate directly with the lease. We have to make a connection from the equipment to lease. And we have honed down and specifically discussed middleware as one of its softwares. Yes, Everin, can you are raising the hand? Everin, check. Everin, I'm seeing your hand, Everin. I'm seeing the hand of Stephen. Yes. I want to see this one. Why this one? Yeah. It was a mistake. And I saw the hand of Stephen again. Stephen. Okay, Stephen has not. But I think, yeah, so I saw your hand raised. Your hand raised. Okay, so I'm assuming there is no problem. And I think one of the most important things we also mentioned in this discussion is about our results. And I want to talk about accuracy. And it's about the results, accuracy, precision, and time and time. Talk about accuracy, precision, and time. So the whole purpose of integration is to achieve that. So the whole purpose of integration is to achieve accuracy, to achieve precision, and to make sure goods are in the shortest time possible. So that is the whole purpose of integration, and because we're enhancing accuracy, but you know that's one way of enhancing accuracy of our results from the lab. And I think with those remarks, and I've talked about instrumentation, and we started by saying that instruments, there are of three categories, and there is smart, there is dumb, smart, and professional. Yeah, and I think those are three things we've discussed about instruments, three categories of instruments, and we also discussed about the characteristics of the, and then which we also discussed again types of interface, and we've gone to discuss one of the interface softwares and middleware. So that's where we are. Yeah, so I think from today, what you can say, what we have talked about, we have discussed about one is instrumentation. So one point is instrumentation, and number two, types of instruments. We have dumb, we have smart, we have bidirectional, and then number three about this instrumentation. We say that what we value in the lab is characteristics of results, so that they must be accurate, and being accurate, they must be precise, and they must be timely. So number four, results of from our instruments should be like that. And then number four, we talk about interfacing here, and we say that equipment analyzers, they are done by manufacturers are not able to talk directly to our laboratory information system. So we need an in between them, so they can be able to directly to our laboratory information system. So interfacing. And then number 4, we talked the types of interfacing. We had types of interfacing. We discussed that one types of interfacing. Number 4, we also discussed one of the middleware. So those are very critical aspects we have covered through that. So I think up to where we have reached. I think I should be work on the handout and send you so that you can be able to see how far we've gone. Yeah, because this part of instrumentation, the second part of first part of our discussion, we started by introduction, then we moved on to introduction, which took us to the components of a laboratory information system, of an automated laboratory information system. So we discussed the introduction, what a system is, what an information system is, qualities of information. Yeah, we went up to the components of a laboratory information system, which is automated. And we discussed, among other things, was database and even networking, that is communication. Now, the second part, we have discussed the instruments. Yeah, and you can see how we discussed it. And I think of the teacher now do an handout up to where we have reached. Yeah, then and I think I didn't intend to talk a lot, but that's the summary of we are covering ground. So I want and then prepare your handout and send it through Steve.